It was meant to be perfect. Isabella Chen stood at the chapel entrance, her heart racing beneath layers of ivory silk, bouquet trembling in her hands. But as the doors opened and she glimpsed the aisle ahead, her breath caught. There, halfway down the burgundy runner, sat an enormous gray wolf. Its amber eyes weren't looking at the guests scrambling in panic. They were fixed directly on her. Not with hunger, with desperation. "Get that animal out of here," someone shouted. Security rushed forward. But the wolf didn't attack or flee. It simply sat there, blocking her path like a living barrier, its gaze pleading with her in a way that made her chest tighten with inexplicable recognition. Her fiancé Daniel stood frozen at the altar, his face drained of all color. And when the wolf's lips pulled back in a warning snarl aimed straight at him, Isabella felt the first crack in the perfect reality she'd built. What happened next would reveal a truth that shattered everything. A secret that had been hidden in plain sight for months. And a love that had been waiting in the shadows, watching, protecting, breaking every rule to save her from a fate worse than death. Stay with me, because what this wolf was trying to tell her will leave you breathless. Before we dive into this impossible love story, hit that like button and drop a comment. Have you ever felt like someone was watching over you? What would you do if your protector turned out to be something beyond human? The morning had started like a dream. Isabella woke in the bridal suite of the Grand Harbor Hotel, sunlight streaming through sheer curtains, her bridesmaids already bustling around with champagne and laughter. Everything was choreographed, perfect, exactly as she planned for 18 months. "You're glowing," her best friend Maya said, adjusting Isabella's veil with careful fingers. "Daniel's going to lose his mind when he sees you." Isabella smiled at her reflection. The dress fit like it was made for her because it was custom Italian lace, thousands of tiny pearls, a train that whispered against hardwood floors. She looked like every bride in every magazine she'd ever studied. Perfect. But as Maya stepped back, Isabella caught movement in the mirror behind her. Just a flicker at the window. She turned quickly, but saw nothing except the hotel gardens below, perfectly manicured hedges and rose bushes swaying in the September breeze. "You okay?" Maya asked, concern creasing her forehead. "Yeah, just nerves." Isabella forced her smile wider, but the uneasy feeling didn't leave. It settled into her stomach like a stone, heavy and cold. She'd been having the dreams again. The same ones that had plagued her for weeks. Running through dark woods, something chasing her. Not to harm but to warn. And always those amber eyes watching from between the trees, familiar in a way that made her wake up gasping, her heart aching with loss for something she couldn't name. "Wedding jitters," her mother had said dismissively. "Completely normal, sweetheart." But Isabella didn't feel normal. She felt like she was forgetting something crucial, like walking toward a cliff edge in the dark. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Can't wait to make you mine forever. You're going to be so happy, I promise." The words should have warmed her. Instead, they felt possessive, almost threatening. She shook her head, annoyed at herself. Daniel was perfect. Successful lawyer. Charming, attentive. He'd swept into her life 8 months ago and made everything feel effortless. The relationship had progressed so quickly it felt like destiny. Didn't it? "Time to go," her father announced from the doorway, eyes already misting. "My beautiful girl." Isabella gathered her train and let him guide her downstairs. The car waited, white ribbons fluttering. Everything moved like clockwork. Smooth, practiced, inevitable. Yet with each passing minute, that sense of wrongness grew stronger. As they drove through the city streets, Isabella stared out the tinted window. For just a moment she could have sworn she saw it. A large gray shape keeping pace with the car, running along the tree line of the park they passed. Impossible. She blinked and it was gone. "Excited?" her father asked gently. "Yes," she lied. Because what else could she say? That she felt like she was marching towards something terrible? That her dreams warned her to run? That some part of her remembered amber eyes that made her feel safer than Daniel's arms ever had? The chapel came into view. St. Catherine's, historic stone and elegant architecture. 200 guests already inside. The organ music drifted faintly through the afternoon air. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect. Isabella stepped out of the car, her father's arm solid beneath her trembling hand. The doors stood open, waiting. She could see the aisle stretching ahead, could see Daniel at the altar in his tailored tuxedo, his smile bright and confident. She took one step forward, then another. The music swelled, and that's when she saw it. The wolf, sitting in the middle of the aisle like it had been waiting for her, like it had been trying to reach her all along. And in that moment, looking into those amber eyes, Isabella remembered everything. 3 months earlier, Isabella had been working late at the art gallery she managed downtown. The exhibit was opening the next day and she'd stayed past midnight, adjusting lighting and placements. She'd finally locked up around 1 in the morning, exhausted and not thinking clearly. The parking garage was mostly empty. Her footsteps echoed off concrete as she headed for her car. She didn't notice the man following her until he was close. Too close. "Hey there," he'd said, his voice oily. "Pretty lady all alone?" Isabella's heart had jumped into her throat. She'd fumbled for her keys, walking faster. But he matched her pace. Then suddenly he was in front of her, blocking her path, his smile all wrong. "Don't be rude. I just want to talk." Isabella had opened her mouth to scream when something massive and gray exploded from the shadows. The wolf had appeared out of nowhere, putting itself between her and the man with a snarl that vibrated in her bones. The man had run, stumbling and cursing. Isabella had stood frozen, her back against her car, staring at the impossible creature. It should have terrified her. Instead, she'd felt safe, protected. The wolf had looked at her with those amber eyes, and she'd felt something click into place. Like recognition, like coming home. "Thank you," she'd whispered. The wolf had watched her for a long moment, then disappeared back into the shadows as silently as it had come. Isabella had driven home in a daze, convinced she'd imagined the whole thing. Stress and exhaustion playing tricks. But she'd seen the wolf twice more after that. Once outside her apartment building at dawn. Once in the park where she jogged. Always at a distance. Always watching. Always making her feel inexplicably safe. Then she'd met Daniel at a gallery opening, and the wolf had stopped appearing. She'd convinced herself it had never been real. Just her mind creating a guardian when she'd been lonely and scared. She'd been so wrong. Now standing in the chapel, everything came crashing back. The memories she'd somehow suppressed or forgotten. The feeling of safety. The amber eyes. The sense that someone was watching over her, keeping her safe from dangers she couldn't see. And she knew with absolute certainty who that wolf was. "Isabel?" her father asked, confused by her sudden stillness. But she was already moving forward, not away. Walking toward the wolf, not around it. The guests were screaming, security was rushing in, but she didn't care. She dropped to her knees in front of the massive creature, her wedding dress pooling around her. "It's you," she whispered. "You're real. You've been protecting me." The wolf's amber eyes widened, and then something impossible happened. The air shimmered around the creature. Its form blurred and shifted. Bones cracked and reformed. Gray fur receded. And within seconds, a man knelt where the wolf had been. He was breathtaking. Tall and muscular, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and amber eyes that held centuries of pain and longing. He wore torn jeans and nothing else, his chest marked with scars that looked like they'd been earned in battle. "Isabella," he said, his voice rough and desperate. "I'm sorry. I tried to stay away. Tried to let you have your normal life. But I can't let you marry him. I can't." "Marcus Thorne." Daniel's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "I should have known." The man Marcus stood fluidly, putting himself between Isabella and Daniel. His stance was predatory, protective. "You don't deserve her, Blackwood. You never did." Daniel's handsome face twisted with rage. "She's mine. The contract is sealed." "What contract?" Isabella demanded, getting to her feet. Her heart was pounding, but not with fear. With fury. "Someone better start explaining right now." Marcus turned to her, his amber eyes full of sorrow. "Daniel Blackwood isn't human, Isabella. He's Fae. And 8 months ago he made a bargain with your father's company. Your hand in marriage in exchange for preventing bankruptcy." The words hit like a physical blow. Isabella looked at her father, saw the guilt written across his face. "Dad, I didn't know what else to do," her father whispered. "The company was going under. Your mother's medical bills. I thought it was just a business merger, a beneficial marriage. He seemed perfect for you. Perfect. Marcus snarled. He's been using compulsion magic on her for months. Making her forget her instincts, forget me, making her believe she loved him. Isabella's mind reeled. The gaps in her memory. The way her relationship with Daniel felt like watching someone else's life. The dreams that felt more real than her waking hours. You're lying, she said, but her voice wavered. Marcus stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. Do you really love him, Isabella? Or do you just believe you do because he made you forget what real love feels like? She doesn't know what love is, Daniel said coldly, moving down the aisle. She's a human. Simple. Fragile. She needs to be guided, protected, told what to want. She needs to be free, Marcus countered. Free to choose. Free to remember. Daniel laughed, and the sound held no warmth. You think she'd choose you? A werewolf who stalked her for months? A beast who can barely control his own nature? I never stalked her, Marcus said quietly. I protected her. From the fae who wanted to take her even before you made your deal. From the vampires drawn to her light. From every supernatural threat in this city, including you. Isabella's head was spinning. Fae. Werewolves. Vampires. The words should have sounded insane. But looking at Marcus, remembering the wolf, feeling the wrongness that had surrounded her relationship with Daniel, she knew it was all true. The compulsion, she said slowly. Can you break it? Marcus met her eyes. It will hurt. You'll remember everything he made you forget. Everything I made you forget. You used magic on me too? Once, Marcus admitted, and shame colored his voice. After I saved you in the parking garage. You saw me shift. I panicked and made you forget. It's my deepest regret. I should have trusted you with the truth. This is touching, Daniel interrupted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. But it changes nothing. The contract stands. Isabella's father signed it in blood. She's legally mine. Fae law doesn't supersede human will, Marcus growled. She can refuse. Can she? Daniel smiled, cruel and cold. Isabella, darling, come here. And to her horror, Isabella felt her body move. One step, then another. Walking toward Daniel against her will, her muscles moving like puppets on strings. Stop, she gasped. I don't want to. But you will, Daniel said. Because you're mine. You've been mine since your father's signature bound you. And when you say I do, the binding will be complete. I'll have access to your life force, your creativity, everything that makes you special. The Fae courts will finally accept me as a true noble. Marcus shifted in an instant. The transformation was fluid, beautiful, terrifying. One moment a man, the next the massive gray wolf. He lunged at Daniel with a snarl that shook the stained glass windows. But Daniel was ready. He raised his hand and invisible force slammed Marcus backward. The wolf hit the chapel wall with a sickening crack and collapsed. Marcus! Isabella screamed. The compulsion broke with her terror, her own will surging forward stronger than any magic. She ran to him, falling to her knees beside his wolf form. Blood matted his gray fur. His amber eyes struggled to focus on her face. I'm sorry, he whimpered, his voice somehow clear despite his wolf form. I wasn't strong enough. No, Isabella said fiercely. Tears streamed down her face, and with them came memories. Rushing back like a dam breaking. She remembered Marcus. Not just from 3 months ago but from years before. They'd grown up together, childhood friends before his family had moved away. Before he'd changed. She remembered the summer he'd left, how he'd promised to come back for her. How he'd said he'd always protect her. She remembered meeting him again as adults, the instant recognition. The coffee dates. The long walks. The night he'd finally kissed her under the stars and she'd felt like her soul had found its missing piece. And she remembered Daniel appearing the next day. Remembered Marcus suddenly becoming distant, cold. Remembered Marcus telling her it was over, that he didn't love her. The pain had been unbearable. But it had all been lies. Daniel had found out about them and used his magic, his influence. He'd made Marcus believe leaving was the only way to keep Isabella safe. Had made Isabella forget Marcus entirely. And then he'd swooped in, the perfect gentleman, filling the hole he'd created. You never left me, Isabella whispered, understanding flooding through her. You've been here the whole time. Fighting for me. Protecting me. Marcus's wolf form shuddered. Always, he managed. Daniel approached, his handsome face twisted with irritation. How touching. But it ends now. Stand up, Isabella. Come here and finish this ceremony. Isabella stood, but not to obey. She turned to face Daniel, and her eyes blazed with fury that surprised them both. No. Daniel blinked. What? I said no. Isabella's voice grew stronger. I'm not your possession. I'm not part of any contract. I'm a human being with free will, and I choose to refuse you. The contract was made without my knowledge or consent, Isabella interrupted, which means it's not binding on me, even in Fey law. I learned that from you, actually. All those nights you had me research legal precedents for your cases? I paid attention. Daniel's face darkened. The air around him began to shimmer with barely contained power. You don't understand what you're doing. I've invested months in you. I won't be denied. Then you'll have to force me, Isabella said. And we both know that violates the contract terms. It requires my willing participation. The moment you compel me again, the whole thing falls apart. Behind her, Marcus had struggled to his feet, still in wolf form but steady. He moved to Isabella's side, standing with her. Together. Daniel looked between them, calculation replacing rage. Fine, he said coldly. You win this round. But you've made an enemy today, Isabella Chen. The Fae have long memories. And you. He glared at Marcus. You've broken pack law by interfering in Fae business. Your alpha will hear about this. My alpha, Marcus said, shifting back to human form despite his injuries, already knows. Why do you think I made it here in time? She sent me. Daniel's eyes widened. Luna Blackthorn sanctioned this? She doesn't take kindly to Fae manipulating humans in her territory, Marcus said. Especially not humans under werewolf protection. You violated the treaty, Blackwood. I'd run if I were you. For the first time, genuine fear crossed Daniel's face. He looked at Isabella one last time, his expression unreadable. Then he simply vanished, fading away like mist, leaving nothing but the faint scent of ozone. The chapel erupted in chaos. Guests were screaming, running for exits. The priest had fainted. Isabella's parents stood frozen, her mother sobbing, her father looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. But Isabella only had eyes for Marcus. He swayed on his feet, blood still seeping from wounds on his side and shoulder. She caught him as he fell, supporting his weight. I've got you, she whispered. I remember everything now. I remember us. Marcus smiled weakly. I tried to stay away. Tried to let you have a normal life. But when I found out about Blackwood, I couldn't. Even if you hated me forever, I had to save you. I could never hate you, Isabella said. You're my best friend. My first love. My protector. How could I hate you? Because I'm a monster, Marcus said, his eyes dimming. I'm not human, Isabella. I can never give you the white picket fence life you wanted. Isabella laughed, the sound bordering on hysterical. She gestured at the ruined chapel, at her torn dress, at the supernatural chaos surrounding them. Does it look like I want that anymore? Marcus, you literally turned into a wolf and crashed my wedding to save me from a fairy tale villain. Normal flew out the window months ago. But, she kissed him. Just leaned down and pressed her lips to his, tasting blood and magic and coming home. Marcus froze for a heartbeat, then kissed her back with desperate intensity, his hand coming up to cup her face like she was something precious. When they broke apart, his amber eyes were clear and bright. I love you, he said simply. I've loved you since we were kids. I loved you when I had to push you away. I loved you every night I stood guard outside your window. I'll love you until my last breath. Good, Isabella said firmly. Because I love you too. And this time no one's going to separate us. Marcus managed a laugh then winced. I need to shift to heal properly. It's going to look scary. I'm not scared of you, Isabella said. I never have been. She helped him lie down, and watched as his body shimmered and reformed into the gray wolf. The wounds were still there, but already beginning to close. The wolf's amber eyes found hers, full of trust and love. Isabella sat beside him, running her fingers through his soft fur, and faced her parents. "I think we have a lot to talk about," she said. Her father nodded, pale but steady. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I thought I was helping. I never knew what he really was." "We'll figure it out," Isabella said. "But right now I need to get Marcus somewhere safe. Somewhere he can heal." "Take him to your apartment," her mother said quietly. She'd stopped crying, and now looked at the wolf with cautious wonder. "We'll handle things here. Cancel everything. Make excuses." "Mom." "He saved you," her mother interrupted. "That's all I need to know. Go take care of him." 2 hours later, Isabella sat in her apartment, still wearing her ruined wedding dress. Marcus was asleep on her couch, back in human form, wrapped in blankets. His wounds had healed to pink scars, and his breathing was deep and even. Maya had brought him clothes and food, eyes wide but accepting after Isabella had explained everything. Or most of everything. Some details could wait. Isabella watched Marcus sleep, her mind still spinning. Her entire worldview had shifted. Magic was real. Werewolves existed. She'd nearly married a fairy tale monster. Everything she thought she knew was wrong. But Marcus was real too. The protection she'd felt from the wolf wasn't imagination. The love they'd shared wasn't fabricated. Her instincts, the ones Daniel had tried to suppress, had been right all along. Marcus stirred, his eyes opening slowly. When he saw her watching, he smiled. Hey yourself," Isabella said softly. "How do you feel?" "Better. Shifting accelerates healing." He sat up carefully, the blanket falling to his waist. "Isabella, about earlier. If you need time, if you need space to process everything." "Marcus," she interrupted. "Shut up." He blinked. Isabella moved to sit beside him on the couch, taking his hand. "I spent 8 months in a fog, convinced I was in love with someone who saw me as property. I forgot the real thing. Forgot you. I'm not making that mistake again. But your life is mine to choose," Isabella said firmly. "And I choose this. I choose truth over comfortable lies. I choose knowing about the supernatural world, rather than living in ignorance. I choose you, Marcus Thorne. Monster and all." Marcus's eyes gleamed. "You keep calling me a monster." "Because you are one," Isabella said with a smile. "A big, scary, overprotective werewolf who crashes weddings and fights fairy tale villains. And he's mine." Marcus laughed, the sound full of joy and relief. "Yours," he agreed. "Always have been. Always will be." He pulled her closer, and she went willingly, curling against his warmth. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. A new chapter was beginning. One filled with uncertainty and danger and magic she didn't fully understand yet. But also filled with love. Real, true, fierce love that had survived separation and magic, and every obstacle thrown in its path. "So," Marcus said after a long moment of comfortable silence, "what do we do now?" Isabella considered. "Well, I need to return a wedding dress. Cancel a honeymoon to Bora Bora. Explain to 200 guests why there's no reception. Oh, and probably learn how to navigate the supernatural world, so I don't accidentally offend any more fae or vampires, or whatever else is out there." "That's a lot," Marcus acknowledged. "It is," Isabella agreed. She tilted her head to look up at him. "Think you can help with that last part? Being my guide to all things supernatural." Marcus's smile was bright and real. "It would be my honor." "Good." Isabella settled back against him. "Because I have a feeling my life just got a lot more complicated." "Probably," Marcus admitted. "Blackwood won't give up easily. And there are other threats out there. The supernatural world can be dangerous, especially for humans who know about it." "I'm not worried," Isabella said confidently. "I have a werewolf guardian. Best security system ever." Marcus laughed again, and the sound chased away the last shadows of the terrible day. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. No more secrets. No more separation. Just truth and love and the fierce determination to protect what they'd fought so hard to reclaim. Isabella Chen had walked into that chapel expecting to become someone's wife. Instead, she'd become something more. Someone who knew the truth. Someone who chose her own path. Someone loved by a werewolf who would move heaven and earth to keep her safe. And honestly, That was so much better than any fairy tale she could have imagined. 3 days later, Isabella stood in the park at dawn, watching Marcus in his wolf form patrol the tree line. She'd learned so much in such a short time. About pack dynamics, about the treaty between supernatural factions, about the delicate balance that kept humans safe from the things that went bump in the night. Marcus had introduced her to his alpha, Luna Blackthorn, a formidable woman who'd sized Isabella up with sharp eyes before declaring her acceptable. High praise apparently. The pack had welcomed her cautiously, but welcomed her nonetheless. Daniel Blackwood had disappeared, but Luna had warned them he'd likely return. Faye didn't forget slights easily. Isabella would need to learn to protect herself, to recognize threats, maybe even learn some defensive magic. It was overwhelming, terrifying, exhilarating. Marcus shifted as she watched, transforming from wolf to man in the space between heartbeats. He pulled on the clothes he'd stashed nearby and jogged over to her, his amber eyes bright. "Everything quiet?" Isabella asked. "All clear," Marcus confirmed. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Too much going on in my head." Isabella leaned back against him. "I keep thinking about how close I came to losing everything. Losing myself. Losing you." "But you didn't," Marcus said gently. "You're stronger than any compulsion magic. Stronger than you know." "I had help," Isabella pointed out. "A very stubborn werewolf who refused to give up on me." "Guilty," Marcus admitted with a smile. "Though technically I didn't crash your wedding just to save you." Isabella turned in his arms to face him. "No. No," Marcus said seriously. "I crashed your wedding to save me. Because a world without you in it, a world where I couldn't see you, couldn't protect you, couldn't love you, that's not a world worth living in." Tears pricked Isabella's eyes. "You know, for a big scary monster, you're incredibly romantic." "Don't tell anyone," Marcus whispered. "I have a reputation to maintain." She kissed him soft and sweet, as the sun rose over the park. A new day. A new beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they'd face them together. And if another supernatural threat came calling? Well, Isabella had learned something important over the past few days. She wasn't some helpless human who needed constant protection. She was fierce, she was smart, and she was learning to see the world as it truly was. Plus, she had a werewolf boyfriend who would literally fight fairy tale villains for her. That counted for a lot. As they walked back to her apartment hand in hand, Isabella felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Certainty. The bone-deep knowledge that she was exactly where she belonged. Her wedding day hadn't gone as planned. Thank God for that. Because the reality she'd found was so much better than any fantasy. Messier, more dangerous, infinitely more real. And she wouldn't change a single thing. 6 months later, Isabella stood in the gallery she'd once managed but now owned. The grand reopening had been her idea. A celebration of new beginnings and second chances. Soft music drifted through the renovated space as guests admired the collection she'd curated. A mix of emerging artists and established names, all exploring themes of transformation and hidden truths. Marcus appeared at her side, looking uncomfortably formal in a tailored suit. He tugged at his collar and she smiled, reaching up to loosen his tie slightly. "Better?" she asked. "Marginally," he admitted. "Still prefer jeans and no shoes." "You can shift and run through the woods later," Isabella promised. "Right now, play human businessman for me." He grinned. "For you anything." Her parents approached, her mother looking healthier than she had in years. The stress of the debt and medical bills had lifted once Isabella had helped restructure her father's company with legitimate investors. Ones who didn't require firstborn daughters as collateral. "Beautiful event, sweetheart," her father said, though his eyes kept darting to Marcus with lingering wariness. 6 months hadn't fully erased the guilt or the awkwardness, but they were working on it. Family therapy helped, even if their therapist had no idea half the issues stemmed from supernatural interference. "Thank you, Dad." Isabella squeezed his hand. "Mom, you look amazing." "I feel amazing," her mother said warmly. She'd surprised everyone by taking the supernatural revelation better than expected. "Explains why I always sense something off about Daniel. Mother's intuition isn't just intuition sometimes, is it?" "Apparently not," Isabella agreed. Maya swept over with champagne, her new boyfriend trailing behind her. Isabella had introduced them at a pack gathering, carefully vetting him first. Maya still didn't know her boyfriend was a werewolf, but she'd figure it out eventually. Some things revealed themselves in time. "This is incredible, Izzy," Maya gushed. "You've really found your calling." Isabella glanced around the gallery, feeling pride swell in her chest. After the wedding disaster, she'd taken stock of her life and made changes. Real ones. She'd bought the gallery from her former boss with money she'd saved and a small loan from Luna Blackthorn, who'd surprised her by offering support. Apparently, the Alpha approved of Isabella's backbone. The gallery had become something special. Not just an art space, but a neutral ground where supernatural beings could mingle with humans safely. Luna had sanctioned it officially, and word had spread through the supernatural community. The paintings on the walls hid sigils of protection. The sculptures contained warding stones. Everything looked normal to human eyes, but those who knew could see the truth. It was Isabella's way of bridging both worlds, of using her knowledge to create something positive. "Speech time," Marcus murmured, nodding toward the small stage where a microphone waited. Isabella took a deep breath and made her way through the crowd. Familiar faces smiled at her, human and supernatural alike. She'd learned to tell the difference now, to spot the telltale signs. The too perfect grace of vampires, the wild energy of shifters, the ethereal beauty of fae who'd come in peace. She took the microphone and the room quieted. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Isabella began. "6 months ago my life looked very different. I thought I knew exactly who I was and where I was going. Then everything I believed turned out to be built on illusions and half-truths." She found Marcus in the crowd, his amber eyes glowing with pride and love. "Having your reality shattered is terrifying, but it's also freeing. Because once you stop living in comfortable lies, you can start building something real. Something true. This gallery represents that for me. A place where different worlds can coexist. Where art reveals hidden truths. Where transformation is celebrated, not feared." Applause rippled through the room. Isabella smiled, feeling the weight of what she'd built, what she'd become. So here's to new beginnings. To found families in chosen paths. To loving fearlessly and living authentically. Thank you for being part of this journey. As she stepped down, Marcus was there to catch her, his arms wrapping around her waist. "Proud of you," he murmured against her ear. "Couldn't have done it without you." "That's not true, but I appreciate the sentiment." They moved through the crowd together, accepting congratulations and making small talk. Isabella had gotten better at navigating supernatural politics, learning which topics to avoid with vampires, how to show respect to visiting alphas, the proper way to decline fairy food without giving offense. Luna Blackthorn arrived fashionably late, as alphas tended to do. She surveyed the gallery with sharp eyes before nodding approval at Isabella. "Well done. You've created something valuable here." "Thank you, Luna." Isabella had learned the proper forms of address. "Your support made it possible." "You made it possible," Luna corrected. "I simply provided resources. The vision, the execution, that was all you." She paused, studying Isabella with unsettling intensity. "You've adapted well to our world. Better than most humans." "I had good teachers," Isabella said, glancing at Marcus. Luna smiled, a rare expression. "My nephew is lucky to have you. Though I suspect you're the one keeping him civilized." "Someone has to," Isabella agreed, earning a mock glare from Marcus. As Luna moved on to examine the art, Isabella felt a familiar prickle of awareness. She turned, scanning the crowd, and her blood ran cold. Daniel Blackwood stood near the entrance, impeccably dressed, his smile charming and cold. He raised a champagne flute in mock salute. Marcus tensed beside her, a low growl building in his chest. Isabella put a warning hand on his arm. "Not here. Too many witnesses." "He shouldn't have come," Marcus said through clenched teeth. "No, he shouldn't have." Isabella squared her shoulders. "But he did. So let's handle this calmly." She crossed the gallery with Marcus at her side, feeling Luna's attention shift toward them, the Alpha ready to intervene if needed. Other pack members casually repositioned themselves, creating a protective perimeter without making it obvious. "Daniel," Isabella said coolly when they reached him, I don't recall sending you an invitation. It's a public event, Daniel replied smoothly. And I wanted to see what you'd built. Quite impressive for a human. What do you want? Marcus demanded. Daniel's eyes flickered between them, calculation evident in his gaze. Peace, actually. I'm here to formally withdraw my claim and apologize for my previous behavior. Isabella's eyebrows rose. You expect us to believe that? Whether you believe it is irrelevant, Daniel said. The Fae courts have reviewed the situation. My methods were deemed excessive and my contract invalid, due to improper disclosure. I've been censured and ordered to make reparations. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to Isabella. She opened it carefully, finding legal documents inside. Her father's debt marked paid in full. The contract officially dissolved. And a formal letter of apology from the Fae High Court. This doesn't change what you did, Isabella said quietly. The manipulation. The compulsion. You tried to steal my life. I know. For the first time, something like genuine regret crossed Daniel's face. For what it's worth, I did develop real feelings for you. Not love perhaps, but affection. You were different from the others. Stronger. Not strong enough to see through your lies, Isabella said bitterly. Strong enough to break free once you knew the truth, Daniel countered. That's rarer than you think. He looked at Marcus. Take care of her, Wolf. She's more valuable than you know. And more dangerous to those who would exploit her. I don't need his protection, Isabella said sharply. I protect myself now. Daniel smiled, and this time it seemed almost genuine. Yes, I can see that. You've become formidable, Isabella Chen. The supernatural world should be grateful you chose to work with us, rather than against us. He set down his champagne and moved toward the exit, then paused. One more thing. There are others like me who know about you now. Your light still shines brightly. Some will be drawn to it with good intentions. Others won't. Stay vigilant. Then he was gone, disappearing into the night. Marcus pulled Isabella close. Are you okay? Actually, yes. Isabella looked at the documents in her hand, proof that her father was finally free, that the nightmare was officially over. It's really finished. He's gone. He's still a threat, Marcus warned. Maybe. But he's also bound by Fae law now. And we're stronger than we were. Isabella tucked the envelope into her clutch. Besides, I meant what I said. I can protect myself. She'd been training with pack members, learning hand-to-hand combat and defensive magic. Luna had even connected her with a witch who taught her basic warding and protection spells. Isabella wasn't helpless anymore. The rest of the evening passed smoothly. By the time the last guests departed, Isabella's feet ached from her heels and her face hurt from smiling. But it was a good ache, the kind that came from building something meaningful. Marcus helped her lock up, moving through the gallery with practiced ease. They'd done this dozens of times over the past months, falling into comfortable routines. He'd basically moved into her apartment, though he kept his own place for pack business and full moon nights when he needed space to run. Take you home? He asked, offering his arm. Please. They walked through the quiet city streets, comfortable in the silence. Isabella had learned that some of the best moments were the quiet ones, just existing together without needing words. Back at her apartment, she kicked off her heels with relief and flopped onto the couch. Marcus joined her, pulling her feet into his lap to massage them gently. Today was perfect, Isabella said, closing her eyes. Everything I hoped it would be. Even the part where your ex-fiancé showed up? Especially that part, Isabella said. Because it proved we've moved on. We've built something he can't touch or ruin. We won. Marcus smiled, continuing his massage. We did win, didn't we? Isabella opened her eyes to look at him. Marcus, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever regret it? Revealing yourself, fighting for me? Your life would be simpler if you just let me marry Daniel and moved on. Marcus's hands stilled. Isabella, look at me. She sat up, meeting his intense amber gaze. I would do it all again in a heartbeat, Marcus said firmly. Every moment of watching over you, every risk I took, crashing that wedding, all of it, because you're worth it. Not because you need protecting or saving, but because you're you. And a world where I didn't fight for you, where I let you slip away. That's not a world I want to live in. Tears pricked Isabella's eyes. I love you. I love you too. Marcus cupped her face gently. Always have, always will. That's not changing. She kissed him, pouring all her emotion into it. Gratitude, love, promise. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Stay tonight? Isabella asked, though she knew the answer. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus promised. Later, as they lay tangled together in bed, Isabella stared at the ceiling and thought about the past 6 months. How much had changed? How much she'd changed? She'd lost her comfortable illusions but gained something infinitely more valuable. Truth. Agency. Love that was real and fierce and chose her every single day. Hey Marcus, she whispered, thinking he might be asleep. Thank you for crashing my wedding. She felt him smile against her shoulder. Best decision I ever made. Isabella closed her eyes, finally at peace. The supernatural world still held dangers. Daniel might return. Other threats would certainly emerge. But she wasn't facing them alone or in ignorance. She had Marcus. She had the pack. She had her own strength and knowledge and determination. Whatever came next, she was ready. And honestly, she couldn't wait to see what adventures the future held. Outside, a wolf howled in the distance. Not a threat, just a guardian on patrol watching over the city. Isabella smiled, recognizing the voice. One of Marcus's packmates, keeping their territory safe. She was part of that now. Part of something bigger than herself. Part of a family she'd chosen and who'd chosen her back. Her wedding day hadn't gone as planned. But the life she'd built from its ashes was better than any fairy tale. And unlike fairy tales, this story was real. This was her life now. Complicated, dangerous, magical, true. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. If you loved this story of impossible love and supernatural courage, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt like the universe was pushing you toward someone? Or felt protected by forces you couldn't quite explain? Drop your story below. I read every comment. And hit that notification bell because next week, we're diving into another tale where love defies every rule and destiny has other plans. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.